Welcome back to another edition of Ash's Fantasy Facts right here on ArizonaSports.com as we get prepared to head into week number 12 of the NFL season. Now, the good news, the bye weeks are over. Everybody is playing from here on out. The bad news, a lot of injuries last week in the NFL in week 11, including some key ones that we've got to keep our eye on this week. Now, you know the drill this Thursday. Yep, it's Turkey Day. So what you do, you wake up, you watch football, you eat turkey, you watch more football, maybe a nap, and then more football. That's the drill. That's how we do it. So make sure you get your lineups in before that, either Wednesday night or before your feast on Thursday. Now let's get right to it, and let's take a look at some winners this week in the NFL and fantasy football. Let's start at the quarterback position. Mark Sanchez, maybe he does a little feasting against Buffalo. Buffalo is struggling right now. Did you see what Miami and Matt Moore did against them last week? It could happen again this week for Mark Sanchez, a key must-win game for actually both teams. I think the Jets will win it, so Mark Sanchez could be a good start in that game. Also, I like either Philadelphia quarterback. Now, I say either because I'm not quite sure right now as we tape this which one is going to play. Will it be Michael Vick or will it be Vince Young? Whichever one it is, I actually like both of them going up against New England. New England's passing defense, they give up a ton of yards. Not always the big points, but a ton of yards. So I think either of those guys is a pretty good start. Now, we're going to tread lightly with a couple of quarterbacks this week. One of those quarterbacks we'll tread lightly with is Ryan Fitzpatrick from the aforementioned Buffalo Bills. They're a mess. He's a mess. He hasn't looked good in a couple of weeks. I still see guys starting him every week. I think it's time to put Ryan Fitzpatrick on your bench, at least for now. And also, we are going to tread lightly with Tim Tebow going up on the road against the San Diego Chargers. Tim Tebow is a winner. I get that. But winners don't always equate to good fantasy football players. Keep that in mind. Let's move on to the running back position. A couple running backs I like this week in the NFL. One is Kevin Smith of the Detroit Lions. What a game last week for Mr. Smith. Well, Kevin Smith is taking on Green Bay on Turkey Day, and I actually like Detroit a little bit in this one. Weird. And I think Kevin Smith will put up good numbers, maybe not 3 touchdowns and a bunch of yards again, but he's the guy until Jahvid Best comes back, and who knows when Jahvid Best is actually going to return to the Lions lineup. And I also like Shawn Green this week for the Jets, but I'm going to warn you, keep an eye on his rib injury. He left the game in week number 11, but LT's all banged up, and I think Shawn Green, if he plays, has a good game against Buffalo. Now, speaking of Buffalo, let's go to the tread lightlies this week, and I'm going to tread lightly with Fred Jackson. He left week 11 with a calf injury. I told you, a lot of injuries this last week, and I just don't know what his status is going to be. Plus, I don't like the matchup against the Jets. If you want to go grab C.J. Spiller if he's available on waivers, might be a smart move if you have Fred Jackson on your roster, just in case the calf injury is more serious than we know about. And also, tread lightly with both the running backs in Green Bay, or just the whole situation, because another injury. James Starks left week 11 with an injury. Now, Ryan Grant could go. I just don't like the matchup again this week against the Detroit Lions. Let's move on to the wide receiver position. A couple wideouts I like this week in the NFL, and they're actually going to be playing against one another in the same game. Larry Fitzgerald. I know I had him as a dud of the week a couple weeks ago. St. Louis's secondary is kind of a mess right now, so I like Larry this week going up on the road against St. Louis, and St. Louis has Brandon Lloyd. Arizona always seems to give up a ton of yards in the secondary. I like Brandon Lloyd a lot this week as well. 2 tread lightlies at the wide receiver position. One of those tread lightlies is Dwayne Bowe of Kansas City. Look, Tyler Palko, he got off to a nice start on Monday night for about 5 minutes, and then he just couldn't find Dwayne Bowe and couldn't find the guys as much as he wanted to. That's going to continue to be a problem, so I'm going to tread lightly a little bit this week with Dwayne Bowe. And believe it or not, I'm going to tread lightly with Wes Welker. And the owners in fantasy football that have Wes Welker, you know what I'm talking about. He hasn't been that good the last couple weeks. In fact, he didn't catch a ball until the late fourth quarter in the game on Monday night. So just tread lightly with Wes Welker. You'll probably leave him in your lineup. I just don't like what he's been doing as of late. Let's move on to the sleeper of the week. The sleeper of the week, a guy that, maybe you're in a bind and you don't know if this guy's going to do well, but I'm telling you, I think this guy has a good game. And he had a good game last week against Baltimore, and that's rookie quarterback Andy Dalton from the Bengals. If you had Cutler or Schaub or some of these guys that are out now and you need a quarterback and Andy Dalton's out there in the waiver wire, it's not a bad start going up against Cleveland. I like what this young man is doing. Andy Dalton of the Bengals is your sleeper of the week. And now it's time for the dud of the week, the guy that is just not going to get it done in the NFL fantasy football-wise this week. And this guy's been a stud all year, but I'm not liking the matchup for Matt Forte, and I'm not liking the fact that the Chicago Bears are now starting a guy named Caleb as their starting quarterback. Caleb Haney is in, and I'm telling you that is not going to be good as the Bears play this weekend. And you know what? When I look at this matchup at Oakland, I just think that they will try to shut down the running game as much as they can. So I'm not liking Matt Forte. You might play him if you have him. If I had him, I would tread lightly. That's it. That's how we do it. That's Ashes Fantasy Facts for week number 12. Make sure you get your lineups in as we have 3 games taking place on Thanksgiving. And I want to wish everyone out there a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, eat lots of turkey, and win in fantasy football.